Significance tests for mu. Well, significance tests about a mean are very similar to tests about a proportion. However, just like with confidence intervals, tests about means use the t-statistic with the n-1 degrees of freedom instead of the z-statistic. In this topic, we will learn how to test a claim about a population mean. Before performing a significance test about a population mean, we must check that three conditions are met. First, it has to be random. The data comes from a well-designed simple random sample, or SRS. Condition number 2 is 10%. When sampling without replacement, the sample size must be less than or equal to the population size divided by 10. And condition number 3 is the normal or large sample. The population has a normal distribution, or the sample is large, meaning that the sample size must be greater than or equal to 30. Let's check to see if the conditions are met in order to perform a significance test for the following example. A manufacturer claims that the mean weight of a bag of their product is 16 ounces. To test this claim, a sample of 20 bags is randomly selected, and the weight of each bag is recorded. The sample mean is found to be 15.5 ounces, with a standard deviation of 1 2/10 ounces. Using a significance level of 5/100ths or 5%, determine if the conditions for performing a t-test are satisfied. The first condition for the significance test is making sure that the sampling method is random. And it tells us that we have a sample of 20 bags and it's being randomly selected. So this does fulfill that first requirement. It comes from an SRS, or a simple random sample, so the condition is satisfied. The second condition is 10%. And this condition is being met because 20 bags is definitely less than 10% of the total population of bags. Now let's check for the third condition required for the significance test. And that third condition is having a normal or large sample. Well, our sample here is of 20 bags, and our sampling requirement, in order for it to be, in order for it to fulfill the normal or large sample, it had to be greater than or equal to 30. And 20 is not greater than or equal to 30. So a significance test cannot be performed. Recall the test statistic measures how far a sample statistic is from what we would expect if the null hypothesis was true, and it could be calculated using this formula. The test statistic is equal to the statistic minus the parameter, all divided by the standard deviation of the statistic. As with confidence intervals, conveniently, the test statistic for a significance test about a population mean is the t-statistic. The only difference is that our mu in a test comes from the null hypothesis, represented by mu sub 0, giving us the following one-sample t-test for a mean. T is equal to the sample mean minus the null hypothesis, all divided by the standard deviation of x divided by the square root of n. And the t-statistic is then used to find the p-value in order to compare it to the significance level.